My name's Steve and I love people who make things. We're a nation of inventive, inspiring makers.
This room alone will produce 100,000 items a year. But yeah, it used to be full of cows.
And then I'd be, Afghanistan or Iraq, sat in my room just sketching out designs, waiting to come home to play around with them.
I'm on a mission to list the greatest products we make, because if we don't champion the skills on our doorstep, we risk losing them.
And running down to our left, we have hand cutting. The problem is getting labour now.
One of the biggest challenges we have here is our ageing workforce.
Join me as we hear stories from behind the factory doors.
I remember drawing my dad's house and he said, "Why don't you count the bricks?"
Oh, he wanted you to be quiet, didn't he? Do you ever have any sleepless nights, Alex?
I don't sleep.
Together, let's make more makers. Welcome to the factory next door, and welcome to the town of Walsall, just north of Birmingham. I'm in a cluster of streets, sat between the canal and railway line, surrounded by small industrial units. Really, many of these buildings, I'm guessing, are from the 19th century. That's when this area saw a boom in its leather trade, particularly horse saddles and bridlery. There's been quite a contraction since the golden years, but Wikipedia tells me there's still some 40 manufacturers of saddles and bridles in this area. We're here to meet one of them, because in today's show we're going to add the horse saddle to our list of the greatest products we make in Britain. Let me go and find Ryder Saddles. Whilst I do that, have a listen to what's coming up in the show.
I enjoyed doing horses till I was about 25 and then realised it was quite hard work and I wasn't going to make much money doing it.
I had two offers, either a bridal job or Argus, so I took the bridal trade.
Oh wow, that is noisy. It's like a spacecraft.
I had an accident and broke my arm in 30 places and had to have a year off work.
Why did you go, Nathan? Why did you abandon? Why did you abandon Jane?
They're not going to probably generate me a huge amount of money to start with, but in a few years' time I'll have a young workforce.
What's your favourite part of assembling a saddle?
Favourite part when it's finished.
Jane Riley, and I'm the co-owner director of Ryder Saddles along with Glenn Funnell.
Okay, so we just walked into one of the rooms within this amazing building, but it looks like there are loads of rooms in this building.
So we're on 3 levels. We're an old Victorian building where saddles have been manufactured here for a long, long, long time. And the room you're in at the moment, we tend to store the leather here. And I have one of my preppers here who prepares the panel who does the panel work for the saddles. So he works down here. Further through there, we have the office and the meeting room, and then through there, the cutting machine.
We've got shelves and shelves here of different leathers, different coloured leathers. Mm-hmm. Where are these coming from?
Mainly our leather will come from Italy and France. Our leather comes from the factories that, for example, Porsche will use for their interior leathers for their vehicles, and we're going to the best tanneries in Italy.
Some of these leathers look quite decorative, quite embossed.
Yeah, they are. Which, some of it's this you'll see has a paisley floral pattern on it. Other people want a completely plain saddle. Some people want that personal touch. Very dependent on the client.
Is it at all ever kind of regional? Would you expect some parts of the world to want much more decorative saddles than other parts of the world?
So America are a lot more decorative. The UK are a lot more conservative. Australia are very conservative. Norway are very conservative. But the Americans, they like full out bling. They love it. We love making the American saddles because the saddlers, when they're just making a black saddle, a brown saddle, it's a bit da-da-da-da-da-da. And then when they get some of these lovely American blinged up saddles, they have great fun making them.
Show me the cutting room, because you mentioned about the extraordinary machine you have in the cutting room.
So if I start here, these are patterns that we have. So prior to everything being loaded onto the computer, we had thousands of these cardboard patterns. Any dressmaker, tailor, anyone who's involved in having patterns, they will know what it's like. You have them everywhere.
I saw this at Yarmouth Oilskins actually, where
Yeah.
in their cutting room
Yeah.
they just had the whole wall covered
Yeah.
in these
And
cardboard
that's
cutouts.
racks and racks of it. So we've spent from last probably 18 months now scanning everything in through an A1 scanner. It's
Oh, someone ringing to make another order.
maybe. I don't even know why I started riding. I was one of those children that was put on a pony before I could walk. And my mother comes from a fairly well-known show jumping family back in like the 60s, 70s and 80s. So she came from a very horsey family. So I was just put on a pony and rode. And then I enjoyed doing horses till I was about 25 and then realised it was quite hard work. And I wasn't going to make much money doing it. So I ended up in saddle making, which is quite hard work and you don't make much money doing it. I was eventing and riding as a hobby and for fun, and I had a very, very narrow thoroughbred horse. And every saddle I tried, and I think I probably bought 4 or 5 saddles for him and nothing fitted him and I couldn't ride him in anything. I went for a training lesson with somebody local and a completely chance encounter, and they said, oh, try Glenn Farnell, this is his number. And from the minute I sat in it, it was the most comfortable saddle I had ever ridden in.
And here we go, the cutting room.
Some people get mixed up between a laser cutting machine and a CNC cutting machine. So we use a blade, and this is a CNC machine, so it's not laser, so you don't get that awful smell.
So we're looking at a flat machine,
Yeah,
about 2 meters long,
yeah.
and at one end you've clearly got some very fancy kind of machinery which kind of moves across the tabletop.
Yeah.
Is that right? And then you've got a computer here as well.
So this table that you're looking at has a vacuum, a suction in it as well. So when you put the leather down, it sucks it down flat. So it takes all the wrinkles out as well.
How much did this cost?
100,000. Yeah, but you have to have it to move the business forward, and we're very lucky because Walsall Council helped us with some funding. We are classed as being in quite a deprived area, and they want to get, they don't want to lose any of the saddlery businesses, so they do help us. They are very, very good to us, and we do really appreciate it. And in return, I do try and take on young staff, and we do training and try and get people into the industry. And I have a young saddler now, and I have another one starting in a couple of weeks, because then they'll come here, they'll make mistakes, it'll cost money, they're not going to probably generate me a huge amount of money to start with, but in a few years' time I'll have a young workforce. I think that's so important, A, for us, B, for the business to remain in Walsall and for the saddlery trade to thrive and survive, and for even clients when they come and look around the factory and see an ageing workforce that can make them a bit jittery. They do like to see that you're going to be around for at least 10 years.
That's really interesting. It's interesting about how the council has been providing some assistance and talking positive, because kind of so far on our journey kind of around the factories, compiling our list of the greatest things we make, there has been a sense from the people I've been chatting to that they don't feel they get that much outside support.
I can say that of the council we have here in Walsall. I don't know about other places, and it's not political, none of that comes into it. It's purely they want the industry that this town is built around, they want it to survive. It's really important to them. So I kept buying a few saddles off Glenn just for my own private horses. Then a few years down the line, I was kind of at a crossroads, and I was commuting to London a lot for work, and I was like, I've been doing this for 9 years. I'm not sure I want to keep doing it. Then Glenn phoned me out the blue one day, and he said, what are you up to? I said, I'm not really sure. He said, well, why don't you try and sell saddles for me in England? And I said, I can't do that. I don't know anything about selling saddles. And he said, well, give it a go. So I was like, okay, I'll try, and ended up being quite a good business, and I was doing quite well with it, and everything was going really well. And then after about 3 years of that, I had an accident and broke my arm in 30 places and had to have a year off work. And then at the same time, unfortunately, Glenn's wife got very ill and she died. And, you know, Glenn really struggled around that time, and I got better and started back saddle fitting again. And then Glenn rang me one day out of the blue and he said, "Oh, just to let you know, I'm going to sell the company." So I said, "Oh, right, well, you'd better let me have a look at the accounts then, maybe I'd be interested in buying it." Glenn said, "Oh, well, are you interested?" I said, "Well, I could be." He said, "Well, do you want to go into partnership?" I said, "Well, we could." "Okay then, let's go 50-50. And that was that. Just like that.
Just like that.
Just like that. Some days I come to work and I absolutely love coming to work and I think I'm the luckiest person in the world. Other days I think, oh, I don't want to go into work.
I was going to say, do you any regrets?
Sometimes I think, why did I do it? It's the biggest mistake in my life. And other times I absolutely love doing it. But I think anyone would say the same about things. I mean, it is not an easy, it's not easy. You're juggling so many balls. And I do everything. So from the wages to the marketing, to building the website, to sorting out the orders, to talking to clients, to the shipping.
Okay, Paul, you're going to give me a demonstration on this cutting machine. So you're clicking through files on a computer, and presumably these are files which have patterns in them, is that right?
That's right, yeah.
And you've laid out a piece of leather on this flat surface in front of us. Yeah. Oh, and it projects an image onto the leather.
A lot cleaner and quicker than hand cutting. It's going to be noisy now.
It's going to be a bit noisy. We like noise on the show. We're big fans of noise on this show, Paul. Oh wow, that is noisy. It's like a spacecraft. How long have you been here, Paul?
22 and a half years.
Okay, so you're still quite new.
Yeah. Still learning the trade, yeah.
How did you get into it?
When I left school, when I was 16, I had to get a job. I had two offers, either a bridal job or Argus. So I took the bridal trade, and my parents thought it would be best to get a job with a trade. And so I was a bridler. And then I think it was about 11 years later, I got made redundant and came here.
So when we're talking about a bridler, just give me an idea, because I'm very naive. What does that entail?
Bridles for horses. It's the cheek pieces, the head pieces, girths, and everything on the horse that is in the saddle. Really, yeah.
I presume you don't ever regret the decision to go into a trade like the bridle and then the saddle, rather than going into retail?
No, I don't know. Some people think that anybody can do this, but not everybody can do it good. So, yeah.
Do you ride horses?
I don't know. I've never been on a horse in my life. I've got a bad back.
When did you go 50-50 with the business and jump in?
Oh, I think it's about 5 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago now.
What would you tell yourself?
I wish I knew then what I know now. I have had some disasters in saddle design that haven't quite worked. I've always, like, the saddlers have looked at me going, what is she thinking now? And I've gone, no, that's what I want. And also, one of the interesting things is when a rider tells you something and they want to change to a saddle, and what that translates to is what the saddler does, is two completely different things. So a rider might say to me, oh, I want this and I'm feeling this. And I can think that is not what you want, because that will give you the complete opposite effect. So, and I'll say to them, no, that's not where we want to make the change and the adjustment. We actually need to make it here, and then you will feel it there. So small things like that have been a huge learning curve.
Oh wow, so we're on the first floor. A long room running the length of the building.
Yeah. So here, these are the trees. So this is like a human.
You said the trees?
Yeah. So these are called trees. They're all made in Walsall. So these are like the skeleton of the saddle. This is what you start with. The tree making is a very unglamorous side of saddle making. It's akin to a cold, wet January day.
I hope the tree makers don't object
Oh,
to
they will completely
that
agree with
description.
me. They say it's noisy, it's loud, there's sawdust flying around everywhere, it's tough on their hands, it's such hard work, and nobody ever sees the tree. They never see it. They don't.
So it's the internal skeleton part of the
Yeah.
saddle, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of like a loop, and a little part is kicking up on one side, which presumably is the back,
So
kind of
that-
the seat.
Yeah,
back
so that's
part.
called the cantle. that
I'm
you'll
getting
see
all
in-
of the phrasing wrong.
Yeah, the cantle. And they can be different heights. They can be set more upright or further back, depending if you want an open-seated saddle or a more closed type seat saddle. And the tree is what defines what shape the saddle will be and what horse it will fit.
The bigger the tree, the bigger the horse. Or is that not true either?
Well, it depends
I
on...
don't know what I'm talking about, do I?
Not necessarily the size of the horse, but maybe the rider, the build of the rider would dictate what size tree you want as well.
So, an example here of some hand cutting that you're still doing.
We are getting more mechanised, but not this sort of thing. It all has to be done by hand.
And how long have you been doing this?
52 years now.
Not this particular saddle for
not
52
particular saddle,
years.
That is an expensive saddle.
No.
What's kept you here for 52 years?
In the trade, I just like doing it. It's just something I've always done. And it was just, I enjoy making things with my hands. It's as simple as that.
So tell them what you're using as well.
Yeah, this is called a round knife. They're exceptionally sharp, so you don't put your fingers in front.
It's kind of in the name there. It's kind of like a semicircle.
That's it, yes. What you do is put it on, and it's as simple as this. You just cut round, semicircle to where you want it to go, and that's it.
I think that and the masher are synonymous with saddle making, aren't they?
Yes,
They if you held that up and said, what industry are they from? People who know about saddlery straight away.
But no.
They are the two.
I love this. Okay, so it's the semicircle knife, which is called the circle knife. It's round knife. I got it wrong again. You only told me like 20 seconds ago. And then this wood, what's it called?
A masher. It's a wooden. This is Lidenham Videnham. You can't get this now.
Very heavy wood.
It's very heavy.
Feel the weight in that.
It sinks. If you put that in water, you think wood.
It is. It's so heavy.
It doesn't. That sinks.
So I describe that as like quite a large wooden mushroom.
Yes.
And how old would that be?
That I would say is about 60 years old, because I inherited from an older saddle maker when I came into the trade.
Oh, blimey, that's been with you your whole career.
Yes.
Have you given it a name?
No.
Would you like to name it today?
You can give it one if you wish, but no, we don't.
Let's call it the fun guy.
Yeah.
Would you use that kind of hitting the side of a saddle?
Yes, you do actually, or in what we call the seaming, which is the seat area of the saddle. When we draw in the seaming back on, we use it for that as well, because it works so well. It can't be beat. Never has been and never will be.
Thank you so much for chatting to me, Rich.
No problem. Thank you.
Who are your main export markets? Or who are your main markets? Is it mainly the UK?
No, we do a tiny amount in the UK, so huge into America. Probably 80%, 75-80% of what we do will go to America. Then Australia, Germany, Canada, Norway, and the UK.
Why is America such an important market for you?
I think the Americans absolutely love British products. We have a very good relationship with the Americans. And I think, if they need to ring and talk to us about things, we speak the same language, which helps as well.
There's, certainly for a few years now, there has been lots of talk about, kind of maybe arranging a trade deal with America and things like that. Now, obviously, I don't want to get massively into the politics, but I just want a sense of what it's like trading with the United States at the moment.
Nothing, since I've been here and been doing the all the paperwork and the trading. For the US, nothing has changed really. The actual shipping is quite high. So to ship one saddle to the US is around £120. So that then goes on to the price of the saddle. Then they have to pay their import duty when the saddle gets there and their taxes, etc. Whereas in Canada now, we do have a trade agreement. But the shipping is quite high to Canada, but then they don't have to pay all the duties and taxes when they get the goods because of the agreement we have there.
Oh, and what about Europe?
So Europe used to be so easy. Make the saddles, put them in the box, put the address on, and it was just like shipping to someone 10 miles up the road in England. So easy. Now, when I ship to Europe, I have to do more paperwork than if we're going to the US. And it takes about a week for the saddles to get there. So I could ship something this morning before 1 o'clock with FedEx, and by tomorrow afternoon it could be out for delivery in Florida. It's that fast and that slick. Whereas into Europe, it's a week.
So Sarah, you've just joined, is that right?
I came in April, but I've always been in the saddlery trade. My dad used to own his own business. I've always worked there since I was 18.
Oh, and if you don't mind me asking, what happened to your dad's business?
Oh, he retired. So I went to another saddlery place before this, and then back to my brother's place, and then I came here. I just don't like it here.
So Sarah, when you were growing up, because your father owned a business making saddles, was it inevitable that you were going to go into this?
Yeah, but my dad didn't want any of us to, because there's 4 of us all together. My dad didn't want any of us to go in the trade, and we all are.
Why did your dad not want any of you to go into the trade?
He's always been in it. I think a lot of saddlers say that. No, don't come in the trade. But yeah, like we all did, and my brothers took over his business now, so they're starting from scratch, like work themselves up.
It's a hard business to be in, isn't it? Yeah. It is tough going.
Obviously, Walsall very famous for its saddle making, but I wondered whether, how do I put it politely, competition has eased?
So sadly this year a couple of businesses have dropped by the wayside, which, you know, on one side of the coin I think people think, oh good, that's got rid of competition. On the other side of the coin, it's so important we don't lose any more saddle factories in the town, and we all need to stick together because we have fierce competition from Italian, from French saddle makers, Indian saddles. So, you know, it's important that we don't lose the industry that we have here.
What are the things on a daily basis rather than or a regular basis rather than one-offs? What are the things that really make you think, I love what I do?
The most satisfying thing, and it's lovely to stand back and see a finished saddle that looks beautiful. You know, once it's in the box, the job's done for the saddlers, but it's not done for me, and it's not done for Glenn, because we are on the end of the phone all the time. So, you know, it's in the box, it's shipped out, it goes off to its destination. It then has to be taken, delivered by a saddle fitter, put on the horse, fit the horse, and the rider has to be able to be balanced and comfortable in it. And that's the bit where you're like, that's probably the most nerve-wracking part of it all, because mistakes can happen and things can go wrong. And when you get that feedback, oh, the horse is amazing, it moved beautifully, it's jumping fantastic, it's not picking a pole and knocking poles down now, it's much more open through the shoulder in the dressage, I've got more engagement. You know, even only the other day, somebody who'd had a saddle from us, she put the saddle on someone she was teaching, and it improved their dressage test by 5 or 6 marks, and enough for them to qualify for the British Nationals. And that's why we do it. I'll take you to talk to Matt.
All right.
Matt,
all right.
Very nice to meet you.
Pleased to meet you.
Matt, how long did you train to learn to become a saddle maker?
Well, confidently, to make my first 2 pony saddles, it was about 5 years.
Wow.
Confidently on my own, to finish 2 on my own, it was about 5 years.
Why did you want to learn how to make a saddle?
I wanted to use my hands. I wanted to make furniture, and I ended up going into making windows, which I didn't enjoy. I did that for 6 years, and then I started to make saddles, and that's where I am now.
Much happier making saddles than windows?
Yeah, much happier. Yeah.
Windows are good for looking out.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
What's your favourite part of assembling a saddle?
My favourite part's when it's finished. That's a serious point. When it's finished,
looking at them
you
finished,
can,
don't you?
yeah, you turn around, look at it, and you think, you know, we've made that. So that's a nice feeling.
And then just Matt, just coming back to this changing career. You always wanted to work with your hands. You went into furniture, ended up in windows. Was saddle making an obvious choice?
No, it was just fell upon me. One of my best friends says his dad's taking someone on, a young lad, and I just says, yeah, I'll go for it, and that's what I did. Started from scratch, and started edging and staining the little bits and bobs of leather, and then we just progressed from there. But I was taught by two very good blokes, really good blokes, two brothers.
Are you teaching anyone now?
Not really. I help.
Keep
show
an
him.
eye on Nathan.
Yeah.
don't you?
Keep an eye on Nathan. When he needs a bit of advice, I'll give him advice and go from there with him. Like.
Okay, and how long have you worked here, Nathan?
I've worked here since February, but I've been here before when I was younger, and then I worked somewhere else, and now I'm back. Happy to be back.
Can I ask why you worked here for a while and then you vanished? Why did you go, Nathan? Why did you abandon? Why did you abandon Jane?
I was young and I got offered more money, a lot more money, so I couldn't turn it down.
You went out the trade, didn't you, for a bit as well?
Yeah, I went out the trade for a bit, and I'm back here now.
You've grown up a lot, haven't you?
Yeah,
You've got very different
I think I was 18 when I first started. Now I'm 28. And I've got kids, I've got a son as well, and my own house, so I need to be in work. And this is the place I want to be at, and I'm happy here.
And he's at that point now where he can now take a saddle all the way through. So.
Are you proud of yourself?
Yeah, I am, yeah.
You've not had an easy journey, have you?
No. I just try and do everything to the best of my ability. That's all I can do. But yeah, I think I'm doing all right.
Yeah, you're doing well.
Yeah.
These young guys like Nathan, like they're the future. You know, if we don't bring young people in and teach them the skills, there will be nothing left here.
Down the, I don't know whether you go down the pub. Down the pub though, you know, kind of with your mates. Do you ever say, you should get into the saddle making industry? Do you ever have a chat to them about it?
No, because most of my friends, you know, they've got different career paths. But one of my friends, he used to learn to make saddles, but he's left the trade now.
Why did he leave the trade?
I ain't too sure. I think it just wasn't for him. Maybe a bit too hard. I ain't too sure.
Maybe he'll come back.
Maybe one day.
What next for you?
Well, we've dabbled a bit with the handbags and the belts, and I would like to try and do a little bit more with that because
these are kind of leather handbags and belts that you've started to design and work on.
So yeah, originally we just made them with all leftover bits of saddle making, and then people sort of liked the product, and we thought, okay, maybe we could do something with this. So it's all got its own hardware now, but I need to try and get them out there now. That's the next phase. But you know, the saddle side of the business does take up a lot of my time.
What does success look like for you?
Unfortunately, you're not going to make millions doing this job, but if you have happy clients, and it's not all about just selling saddles to people who are riding dressage at top level and jumping huge jumps. For me, I've gone out saddle fitting, and you'll go to somebody and she'll, you know, I might have a lady say to me, oh, you know, my mother really sadly passed away and she always wanted me to have a really nice saddle and that's what I'm using this money for. And you know, that sort of story. And I will say to my saddlers and my staff, you know, for you it might be a job and you get paid and you go home. I said, that saddle you're making is somebody's dream. And some people absolutely make huge sacrifices to get that saddle and to have it. And they want the best for the horse. And I think it's so important to recognise that.
When you leave the factory tonight, will you view it as a good day or as a bad day?
Well, I have a couple of people off sick at the moment, so my production levels are quite low, which always, then you know what invoices you've got coming in, you think, oh, I need production.
And I'm chatting away to you.
Yeah, but so I'm the one person in the entire business who doesn't produce or make anything.
So we're just going to agree that it's been a good day for you. Is that right?
Yeah, today's been a good day. To be honest, I think even a really bad day here, compared to what you could do, a bad day here is probably a good day in a lot of places.
Jane, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for taking the time to show me around.
Thank you for coming. We really appreciate it.
Okay, number 20 on our list of the greatest products we make here. The horse saddle goes into our shed of greatness. My thanks to Jane and everyone at Ryder Saddles for chatting with me. I'm going to take a short break now until October. That's because I'm told absence makes the heart grow fonder. And also, actually, it's a heck of a job keeping this show on the road, and I just need a little bit of time to do some more planning. But be assured, the next series, numbers 21 to 30 on our list, is well underway. If you've got any ideas or suggestions, I just want to say hello. Find me on Instagram, The Factory Next Door. And also, we do have a special bonus episode coming out, of course. That's coming out in September. Those of you who follow me on Threads will know about that already, but do look out for that. I'm going to miss hanging out with you all, but it's just a short break. Small break, tiny break. Okay, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I hope you're happy. Until next time, bye.